Hello dear students, welcome to Sri Chaitanya, India's largest exam online platform. I am Neeraj Agnihotri, your physics NEET mentor. Today we will talk about how to get into the concepts, how to score very well, and the things which are very important to us. So prior to that, before we start our meeting, I just want to share that have you enrolled for the score which is going to happen? It is very important. Okay, now let's see what is in there. We have to talk about our chapters. We have to talk about this slide, like we are having this score exam, which is India's largest scholarship exam, which is the key for your success, because India's topmost minds, the brains, they will work on it, and they will be their part of the journey, and they will be definitely getting their initials with 2.5 crore as the cash rewards, as the scholarships, as the NASA trips, as the exciting gadgets even, and up to 100% scholarship to compete with the India's largest exam, which is score. Now, prior to that, I just want to share in the next slide, that is how about our syllabus pattern will be. See, the exam pattern, the syllabus, so I'll be talking about the grade 11 NEET, because in the yesterday's class, sir has already given the syllabus for the grade 11 JEE. So I'll be making you note that how it test will be and how it will go on. Okay, see, the test type is of NEET test, and the duration will be 120 minutes, and question type will be only the MCQs will be there. That's there. Am I right? Now physics, in the physics we'll be having 30 questions, chemistry 30 questions, botany 30 questions, zoology 30 questions each. Now let me go aside and let me give you that this will be your syllabus for your upcoming score exam. In the physics, you are having units and measurements, motion in a straight line, motion in a plane, laws of motion, work power energy, system of particles, and rotational motion. Simply means whole mechanics will be tested in this score exam. And for the chemistry, we are having some basic concepts of chemistry, structure of the atom, classification of elements and the periodicity in the properties, and chemical bonding and the molecular structure, and thermodynamics. Okay, so how about the botany? Cell, the unit of life, cell cycle and cell division, the living world, biological classification, and morphology and the flowering plants. I know everybody love botany, so definitely we'll be expecting good in there. And how about the zoology? Zoology is like biomolecules, breathing and exchange of the gases, body fluids and the circulation, excretory products and their elimination, locomotion and the movement. So with this locomotion and movement, we'll be get into our exam. Okay, so I am just aside in there. So just take a screenshot of it so that you can have the the syllabus pattern with you, which is happening for the score. Done. So in this today's journey, we will be talking about units and the measurement, which is the basic foundation of the physics. So I'll be focusing more on the what type of questions are very important, what type of questions we should attempt, so that we will be very confident about it, and we must be scoring good marks, at least the topic which we will discuss right now. Let's move on to the next slide now. What would be the agenda? In this session, I'll be focusing more on why the units and dimensions are important. It simply means, when you talk about, if you ask someone, I want something money, I want something like this, I want something like this, then we put some units in it. Okay, so means we say, yeah, I want that, I want that. So we put some units in that. Okay, today I have to go to get something like that. I do want that many gadgets or something like that. So for that we just need to have units and dimensions. And while discussing these concepts, I'll be focusing more on the system of units and the dimension in it, and the formulas what are required for it, the memory tricks that we'll be discussing for sure, and conversion and the derivation, which is very important. In this session, I will be definitely taking some new concepts for you, in which you can solve the questions very well, and you will be very confident about it, how to crack that. Okay, and definitely I'll be asking some few of the questions in it, that what are the questions, what question you should have in your mind, if any query or anything is there that you can ask to me. Okay, And how about then after the final, we'll be going with a recap and recapitulate the concepts and discuss the next things. Okay, so let's move on to next slide now. So what will be discussed in today's session? It will be like in the very first point, why the standard units are more important in physics. I tell you why. Whenever you are performing some experiments in India, am I right? And we are using some standard units in India, and same experiments was being performed in other country or somewhere other side, where the scientists they opted, yes, I want to opt these units as for mine, but they performed same experiment. So we will correlate their units from one to the other. And next, in the second point, so definitely when we are talking about something, because we need to measure something, am I right? So in that concept, we will be focusing on the fundamental and the derived quantities. Right now I will tell you fundamental are means which we need to understand to live in this world, which are very fundamental. And then there comes the derived quantities, which means that from these fundamental quantities, how can you derive the other physical quantities so that we can live very happily. Okay, so next point. How to write and interpret the dimensional formulas. It's very, very important also, like how to write and interpret the dimensional formula. Means right now in this topic, we'll have more focus on the dimensions and the units rather than their numerical values or something like that. Am I right? We'll be focusing more on units and the dimensions then. Next. So definitely in the last, this portion will be very, very important for you, because in there you will be having the common mistakes where NEET and JEE traps are there. So I will be giving you some of the formats in there which are very, very important, which you should, if you should understand, then you can execute the question in a very good way. Okay, so let's move on to next slide. Okay, now very first question. What are physical quantities? What are physical quantities? What are physical quantities? Tell me, let me see the name of the students on the screen. What are physical quantities? What's the definition of physical quantities? Anybody? Physical quantities which can be measured, and all the laws of physics or the science which can be expressed in terms of it, that is termed as what? The physical quantities. And physical quantities are classified into the 7 terms like mass, length, time, current, temperature, luminous intensity, and the amount of substance. Okay, and the respective units are kilogram, meter, second, ampere, Kelvin, candela, and the mole. Done. And then we are having their symbols: kilogram as kg, meter as meter, second as S, ampere as A, Kelvin as K, candela as CD, and mole as MOL. Am I right? Then we write dimensional formula for it. What is that? It is like M, L, T, then I, then theta, then J, then N. These are the dimensional formulas for these fundamental quantities. Now I tell you, what do you mean by the word fundamental quantity? Fundamental quantity means which is very simple and nothing is simpler to them, like mass. You talk about anything, you always talk about mass. You talk about the length, you talk about the time, you talk about the ampere. So these are the fundamental quantities. And from these fundamental quantities, we can determine the derived quantities. Okay, now I just want to share one thing. What is that? Why fundamental quantities are required? We are having 7 fundamental quantities. We are having what? 7 fundamental quantities in there. Am I right? So my question there comes, why do we have 7 fundamental quantities in it? Yes, anybody? Okay. Chat option, I think. Okay. So there we are talking about, the 7 fundamental. Now there comes the question that we are having 7 fundamental quantities. 7 fundamental quantities. why do we need these 7 fundamental quantities? Now listen very carefully, and it's very simple. Because MLT, combination of MLT forms mechanics. You solve any question of mechanics, there will be using only MLT. Then you talk about, sir, I want to talk about thermodynamics. In the concept of thermodynamics, we have MLT and temperature. So means wherever the combination of MLT and theta is coming, we will be expecting we are talking about the thermodynamics. So means these 7 fundamental quantities means if you combine any set of fundamental quantities, you will be tackling a new branch of science or the physics. Okay, done. Let's move on to next slide. See, prior to that, I will be discussing a concept that how to write the formulas. So I will be giving you a tip. What is that? When you write force as what beta? 10 Newton, something like this. Am I right? Very simple. And then you write, as you all are familiar, it is 10 into 10 raised to power 5 dyne. Something like this you write for it. Am I right? Now listen very carefully. Listen. When you are writing F, you call this F as a physical quantity. When you are writing 10, you call it as a numerical value. When you call it as a Newton, you call it as a unit. So it is like N1 U1. And since you have converted from this unit to other unit, so it is like 10, calling it as N2, and this as the second unit as U2. So there you have understood that Q as a physical quantity, which is like what beta? N1 U1 is equal to what? N2 U2, and this Q is termed as the magnitude of physical quantity. This Q is termed as what? The magnitude of the physical. This Q is termed as the magnitude of the physical quantity. So it is very, very simple. Now see, what do we write for it? Now listen. When I write something like, one more example I want to share. Length you are writing as 10 meter is equal to what? 1000 centimeter. You can see the power here is 1. Power here is 1. When you have changed the units, the power is not going to change. The power is not going to change. Now this is very, very important. Okay. Now listen. Let me ask you, a physical quantity is written as, just right you said Newton, just like you said N as a numerical value and U as a what beta? Unit. And this unit is containing mass, length, time, because in this concept we are talking about our fundamental quantities which are M, L and T, which is mechanics, because our score exam is basically up to the mechanics portion only. So I'll be focusing more on MLT. So MLT is having M raised to power A, L raised to power B, T raised to power C. So what is in there? We say Q is equals to M raised to power A, L raised to power B, T raised to power C. So see, A, B, C, these are termed as dimensions. These are termed as the dimensions. When you write M raised to power A, L raised to power B, T raised to power C, then this is termed as dimensional formula. This is termed as the dimensional formula. And when you are equating it with the Q, when you are equating this with the Q, then we term it as dimensional equation. We termed it as what? The dimensional equation. Okay. So you must be knowing these things, beta. A, B, C, these are the powers of the fundamental physical quantities, and when you write this in the bracket, that is termed as dimensional formula, and when you are equating it to the physical quantity, you term it as what? The dimensional equation. Okay. Now see, so this thing is very much understood to us now, like how to tackle the values to be there. See, so when I will be writing something like, I just want to share some formula so that you must be knowing like when you are writing beta speed or you are writing velocity, right now I'm not distinguishing between a scalar or vector. I'm just want to write in my own convenience like distance by time. So which physical quantity distance correspond to? L. Which physical quantity time correspond to? T. So there you are writing what? L1 t minus 1. That is the first part. And when you are writing for the acceleration, you know what is acceleration? It is called as velocity by time. So what is the formula which you derive for the velocity? It is L1 t minus 1 by t, and we are getting what beta? L1 t minus 2. That is our acceleration. If you are writing the force, what is the value of the force? Mass into acceleration. Mass into what? Acceleration. So what is the value of mass? It is m1, it is L1 t minus 2, and that is what? The acceleration. Am I right? So we are having force is equal to m1 L1 t minus 2. See, and if you are writing for the something like kinetic energy, and kinetic energy is nothing but what? Half mv square. Half what beta? mv square. Half is what? Dimensional less constant, and it is what? mv square we will write, because we are talking about dimensions only. So what is the value of mass beta? It is m1. Velocity is what? L1 t minus 1 raised to power 2. So I am getting m1 L2 t minus 2. m1 L2 t minus 2. Now you have seen I was more focused on writing this formula rather than the direct formula. So it means I have to focus the formulas from there these equations are derived. Am I right? And this half is termed as dimensionless constant. It is having no units. Okay. So this is there. Now, I think basic idea of this concept is understood to you, and that concept reveals that whenever you are converting something, you will be having magnitude of the physical quantity, which is equated with the what? Numerical value and the unit. And inside the unit, we are having mass, length and time with their proper dimensions. Okay. Now, see, let me tell you one thing very, very important. You know, force is what right now you said, it is mass into acceleration. What is the value of mass? Right now we have derived the formula. It is m1 L1 t minus 2 beta. m1 L1 t minus 2. Now, let me tell you, if someone asks me, sir, what should I write? What should I write when I am supposed to write the unit? I always say, beta, you are having the dimensional formula. Write for mass, write kilogram. For length, write meter. For time, write second. So this become what? Kilogram meter per second square. Am I right? So wherever I will find any format, I will be writing in this format only. Kilogram meter means whatever dimensional formula I am having beta, I will be writing its units with the same powers, with the same dimensions. I think it is clear. Okay. So see, one more thing. Let me write kinetic energy. What is the value of kinetic energy? Just we said half mv square. We know if it is like half is a dimensionless, m is again m1 L2 t minus 2, just making you to get confident about it. If someone is asking, sir, if it is 100 joule, can you convert joule into the SI units? Then it is very simple, writing it as 100, then mass as kilogram raised to power 1, and meter as a square, and second as per second square. So whatever dimensional formula you are having beta, only that fundamental values to be written, fundamental units to be written, kilogram, meter and second square, and you'll be writing right away with the same way. So it is very, very simple concept. Okay, now let's move on to next slide. Let me have, it's a very, very good question. What is the value of 100 Newton into a new system in which mass, length and time are 100 kg, 10 meter and 20 second? Now it is a very simple question. See, how to solve this question? Very easy question. I will say force. You may note down beta. It is also very, very important. You should also note down each and everything. See, what is in there? Force. What is the value of force? You know, it is given to us as what beta? It is 100 Newton. It is what? 100 Newton. Okay. Now in the next point, when it is asked what you should be, take the mass, length and the time, then it is like the question mark I will write, and definitely I will be writing n dash. I am taking n dash as a new system of unit. I am taking n dash as a new system of unit. Okay, now see how to solve this question. It's very one-step solution. You may write 100 since you are talking about the force. So force is having formula m1L1 T minus 2. I will be writing here. Am I right? So Newton I can replace as what? Kilogram raised to power 1, meter raised to power 1, and second raised to power minus 2. So let me be preferably write this second in the denominator so that it will be very easy to solve second square. So it is equal to the question mark and the new unit of the Newton dash. So what is the value of the Newton n dash to be taken? If mass is to be written, it should be 100 kg. It should be 100 kg raised to power what? 1. Then it is what? Meter. It is 10 meter raised to power 1 upon what bit? It is 20 second square. 20 second square. So you can see here how to solve this question, because we are to get the value of this question mark. We are to get the value of this question mark. We have to get this value of the question mark. Okay, so it's there. So question mark we have to solve. So this question mark is to solve. Then we can bring all that stuff to the other side. Then what we are getting? 100 there. It is kilogram meter by second square multiplied by, it is like 400 second square by what? 100 kg and 10 meter. Am I right? Now you solve that stuff. It is like very simple thing. Just wait. It is like 100 kg and all that stuff. Okay. So let me rewrite this wording bit so that you can understand. But it is very, very simple. Bring this 100 kg down and bring this 10 meter here and bring this 400 second square here, and there you can get the value of question mark. So I am leaving it to you for the homework. Okay. Let's move on to next slide. Now see, we discussed a very important thing, that we were having mass, length, time as fundamental quantities. But if some scientists say, or someone like you scientists say, sir, I want to consider not mass, length, time as traditional fundamental quantities, but I want to consider my fundamental quantities to be energy, force, velocity. Then how should I can go with the values? So it is very simple way. See how to solve this question now. Energy. Where it is? Now see with it. We are going with the dimensional dip 2. Dimensional dip 2. We are dipping into the concepts. So that's why I am putting dimensional dip 2 there. See what is happening in this concept. Energy, force, velocities are given to you and they are taken as fundamental units and their values are given. As I just said, we may have any physical quantity as our fundamental unit. When we are performing any experiment, we can opt any physical quantity as our fundamental quantity. That is not necessary to take always mass, always length, always time. You may take any. So I am giving you the independence. Now let's use this independence to solve this question. Energy is given to me. What is the value of energy given beta? It is given as there 100 joule. It is like 100 joule. And what is the value of energy like M1, L2, T minus 2? That is energy. When you are writing for force, it is force, and this force is what? It is 10 Newton. So it is like 10 Newton, and the formula to be used is M1, L1, T minus 2. This is my equation number 1. This is my equation number 2. Then I am talking about the velocity. What is the value of the velocity given to me? It is 5 meter per second as my equation number 3. So let me write L1 t minus 1 as my result. So it is very, very simple concept. Now how to solve this? See, because it is asked find mass, length and time. Now I am having these three equations 1, 2 and 3. We are having these three equations. What should we do so that we can get the result? See, if you divide this value like equation 1 by equation 2. So when we are dividing, what we are getting today? It is like m1 L2 t minus 2 by m1 L1 t minus 2. This is equal to the values. Now as I told you in the previous slide, 100 joule is written. Now joule is to be written in the fundamental values, which are kilogram, meter and the second. So I will be using it as, now I think you can tell it to me now. What would be that? You can tell it to me. It is like mass as 100 joule. So I am writing it as 100 and joule I am writing in terms of the units. So it is like what? It is like kilogram raised to power what beta? 1. Then is what? Meter square per second square upon this value. What is this value? 10. And what is the value of Newton? It is a unit of force, and force written as m1 L1 t minus 2. So when I am writing it for the kilogram meter second, I will be writing kilogram, then is what beta? Meter, then is what? Second square. Now you can see kilogram get cancelled with the kilogram, per second square cancelled with the per second square, and meter is getting cancelled with the meter. Same way here, beta, this is getting cancelled, and we are getting L is equals to 10 meter as the answer. I think it is very, very good, very, very simple how to solve this concept. Now, if I am going with the, I want to calculate for the t now. So let me use a different color pen so that I can find it very, very well. Let me write equation number 3, rewrite equation. I can write L by T is equals to 5 meter by what beta? It's a second. So what we are writing for it? L as what? 10 meter by time is equal to what? 5 meter by second. So this 5 meter get cancelled with this 2. So we are getting T as what beta? 2 seconds. So just for the sake of exercise, I just want to say that L we have determined, T we have determined. Now you can use equation number either 1 or 2. You can calculate the value of M. I think it is understood now. Now let's move on to next. Let's have the more dip, which is dip number 3. Now I love this question. It is very, very good question. It is very nice question. Let's solve this question. See how it will work. See beta, in the two system of units, it is a very new question for you all. In the system of two units, we are having velocity, acceleration, force, which are given by this relation. V2 is equal to V1 epsilon square by tau, A2 is equal to A1 epsilon tau, F2 is equal to F1 by epsilon tau. So, and it was asked, what is the value of M2 by M1, what is the value of what? L2 by M1, and what is the value of T2 by T1. We will be determining this only. See how to solve this question. I have written this V2 by V1. So let me have this liberty to write V2 as L2 T2 raised to power minus 1. So I advise you, you just note down these steps so that you can understand it very well, because it is a very simple thing. So L2 T2 minus 1 by what beta? L1 T1 minus 1 is equals to, because I brought this V2 V1 to this side as a cross multiplying, and I am getting this as epsilon square by tau as my equation number 1. Let me write A2 for A2. What is the value for A2 to be written? L2 T2 raised to power minus 2 by what beta? L1 T1 raised to power what? Minus 2 is equal to what? epsilon tau as my equation number 2. Really nice. Very good. And how about F2? F2 as what? M1, L2, M2, L2, T2 raised to power minus 2 by M1, L1, T1 raised to power minus 2. Just for your convenience, I have written this ideas how to solve these questions. Just writing it in that way. So what we are writing? M2 by L2 and something like that. And the values are given as 1 by epsilon tau. Again, now you see. Now can you suggest me how to determine M2 by M1 and L2 by L1? Anyone? Anyone who can suggest me this value? Anyone? See. Let me see. Okay, done. See, how to solve this question? How to solve this question? You take beta, this is equation number 1, this is equation number 2. So you divide this 1 by 2, then see what is coming. Divide 1 by 2. 1 by 2. When we are saying 1 by 2, what we are getting? L2. Let me write L2, then it is what? T2 raised to power minus 1 upon L1 T1 raised to power minus 1 whole divided by this term L2 T2 raised to power minus 2 by L1 T1 raised to power what? Minus 2 is equals to, this is the numerator, it is epsilon square upon tau divided by, it is epsilon tau. See beta, what will happen now? I think everybody can answer this question now. It is L2 cancelled with the L2, L1 cancelled with the L1. This is T2 raised to power minus 1, T1 raised to power minus 1. And when you will solve, what we will get from there? T2 raised to power minus 1 and T1 raised to power minus 1. And you can see here what answer we are expecting. We are expecting like T2 minus 1, T2 minus 2. So let me write in this format. T2 minus 1 by T1 minus 1 multiplied by, I can take T1 minus 1 upside and T2 minus 2. Okay, so no doubt these two are equated. Okay, let me rewrite here. So what answer we are expecting from there, beta? What answer we are expecting from there? Because this was L2 cancelled with L2, this was L1 cancelled with the L1. So it was T2 raised to power minus 1. Because I am just focusing that you must understand what step we are using. T2 raised to power minus 1, T2 raised to power minus 2. They will get cancelled. So we will be getting, I am just writing directly, okay? T2 raised to power minus 1 by T2 raised to power minus 2. So I am getting T2 raised to power minus 1 in the denominator and T1 raised to power minus 1 in the numerator. And it is like what? If we are dividing it, we are getting what? Epsilon by tau square. Epsilon by what? Epsilon by what? Tau square. That will be the answer. T2 goes up, T1 goes down. Am I right? In the same way, when you found T2 by T1, you are getting epsilon by what? The tau square. That is the value to be considered in that way. Am I right? So this is the way to calculate T2 by T1. When you are writing for T2 by T1, you may put the values here, then you can calculate the value of L2 by L1. In same way, you determined T2 by T1, you determined L2 by L1, put that stuff in this equation, you will get the required result for this too. Am I right? Let me have the another slide now. Next. You can see in the next slide, I have mentioned the answers 1 by epsilon square tau square and epsilon cube by tau cube. This is what I have explained in there. Am I right? You may take the screenshot of it so that you can get the answer. Okay? Done. So let's move on to next slide. Now, it is also very, very important question. Very, very important question. Very simple question also. Previous two questions, what we have done. Previous questions, what we have done. Yes, Ajay? Yes. Okay, that's good. Okay. See, in the previous question, what we have done, previous question we focused how to write the units, how to write the fundamental quantities, and we can opt any physical quantities as our fundamental quantities. In the next dip, dip 3, in the dip 3 what happened? In the 3 we considered we have correlated two different units with the same physical quantities, and we were supposed to take the ratios like M2 by M1, L2 by L1 and T2 by T1. So there we can put the values and you get the result. Now this is one of the very good question of it. See how to solve this question. We are having A, B, C, D. These are beta 4 different physical quantities. These are 4 different physical quantities. So what is asked to us, that this equation is given to me, AD is equals to C natural log BD. AD is equal to C natural log BD. That is given to us. Okay. Now, how to solve this question? As you know, all logarithmic terms are what? All logarithmic terms are what? These are dimensionless. All logarithmic terms are dimensionless. So when all logarithmic terms are considered to be dimensionless, so what we can say? We can say beta AD we can say what? AD is equals to what? Beta C, and also the natural log is a dimensionless term with this factor. So we can write BD is also what? Beta dimensionless. BD is also what? Beta dimensionless. Now how to solve this question? See, the questions, the options which are opted to us are AD. Is this phenomena of addition is possible for this? Is this algebraic expression is possible for this? So it is AD plus C. So I can see they can be added only if they are having same dimension. So I am finding in this expression that dimensions of AD and C are equal. So this is possible to have the addition of AD with the C. That is the first point. Second, is A plus C by D possible? Yes, because if I am making it as A from this expression, I am writing it as what? C by D. So whatever the dimensions A is having, same dimension C by D is having. So you can say yes, it is happening with the A plus C by D as the option. Like these phenomena are possible to add. And sir, is it possible to have third? So let's see. BD is given as 1 and question asked is A by B. So you can see beta AD is basically what? AD is basically what? C, and BD is equal to what? 1. So question asked is, sir, is it possible to have this expression A by B minus C? So I have to check, yes, it is possible or not. So you can see D, I replace this D with what? 1 by B, and put this 1 by B here. So what we are getting for it? Put 1 by B here. What we are getting for it? A by B is equal to C. So it means A by B having the same dimensions as that of the C. It means it is also a possible option for us. But A square minus AC. See beta, if you are writing A square is equal to AC, so you subtract it like this. So it means it get cancelled. So A is equal to C. But in the question, it is already said A, B, C, D are different physical quantity. So what we can say? This is not a possible option for this question. I hope you have understood this question. It is very, very simple. A, B, C, D different physical quantities, and what we have learned from it, we learned that the different physical quantities can never be added, can never be subtracted, but if you multiply or divide them, you can make them a similar physical quantity from where you can expect the different mathematical operations. Am I right? So this was there. AD was happening with the C. A plus C by D was happening because I took A there and it becomes C by D. So both are having same dimensions. A by B is happening here. BD is 1. D become 1 by B. Put the value of D here. 1 by B. Put the value of D 1 by B here. So we are getting C is equal to what? A by B. So expression happened for this, but it has not happened for this because A square is equals to A. This is getting cancelled. We are getting A is equal to C. Means A and C are same physical quantities, but in the question it is given these are different physical quantities. So it is never possible for it. I hope you have understood this idea. Now, let's move on to next slide. So, the questions which we have discussed right now, in the questions, we have learned a major important things. What were they? Physical quantities, fundamental and derived. Just recapitulating for you, fundamental quantities and derived quantities. Fundamental were 7. Along with that, 2 more quantities we consider, which are termed as the plane angle and the solid angle for it. Am I right? Supplementary quantities. And prior to that, we discussed what is a physical quantity and why do we need it. We discussed that in detail. And right now, we are focusing more on the dimension concept and on the units concept, but not on the measurements, like what experiment we are performing. We are just correlating the physical quantities. And till now, we have taken a very, very important questions. They were how to write the units from one system to the other. Second, if we have taken randomly for ourselves, sir, I want to opt not mass, length, time as a fundamental quantity, but I want to take energy, force and velocity as my quantity. That independence was given to you. And next, sir, if I am taking 2 different units, how can I correlate their mass, length and unit? So we have taken, you remembered, V2 is equal to V1 epsilon tau, something like that terms were there earlier. You will be getting the PDF questions also in there. So what will be there? We correlated the terms and we correlated the units also. Am I right? So, and in the last question, what do we discuss in the last question? We discussed in the last question that different physical quantities can never be added, can never be subtracted, but what we can do with the different physical quantities, we can rearrange them to make it like, if possible, then we can operate the mathematical or algebraic operations. Okay, so let me tell you, in this concept of dimension analysis, if you say, sir, dimensional analysis is happening, is it feasible everywhere? Is it feasible everywhere? Do it have any limitations of it? Yes, there is definite some limitations to it. And what are they? See, limitations are, first, there is no information on the dimensionless constants and its numerical values. Yes, Ashok Kalyanji, good afternoon. Okay, see, so no information on the dimensionless constants, because whenever we will derive the formulas, then we use some constants to it. Am I right? See, I just want to give you one example. When you say T is proportional to L raised to power A, M raised to power B, G raised to power C. Very famous question. Everybody go with that. Then you write T is equal to K, L raised to power A, M raised to power B, G raised to power C. And you assume this K is what? Dimensionless constant. This K is what? The dimensionless constant. This K is a dimensionless constant. So if beta, this is dimensionless constant, so there is possibility, there are certain questions where K is not a dimensionless. Can anybody answer this question? Can anybody answer this question? That give one formula where K, here K is dimensionless, but give another formula where K is not dimensionless. Okay, so I'll tell you. In the concept of dimensions, we will solve only these questions where dimensionless constants are there and their numerical value is not to be determined. So I have given you one example, T proportional to L raised to power A, M raised to power B, G raised to power C. So K I put it as what? Dimensionless constant. So my next question comes to you, is there any formula? Yes, there is one formula, and that formula is force proportional to what beta? M1, M2 by what? R square. By what? R square. So when you say F proportional to M1, M2 by R square, then you write some constant beta K. You call it right now as a K. No problem with that. M1, M2 upon R square. M1, M2 upon what? R square. Now see what happens. Force is having the dimensions. Let me write. Let me write the force dimensional formula as M1 L1 T minus 2. Let me write beta there so that we can have the clear view. See, force has formula m1 L1 T minus 2 is equal to K is what? We don't know about K. But how about the mass? It becomes m square. How about R? It is L raised to power what beta? It is what? L raised to power what? Minus 2. Now how to solve this question? See, if you take this K as dimensionless, is it possible that both are equally dimensionally correct? Answer is no. Why? Their powers m1 L1 T minus 2. There it is what? M square L minus 2. So these two are not equal. So what is the role of this K? K has to be adjusted, say K has to be adjusted in such a way that dimensions of MLT on both the sides must be equal. So what are they? If it is on the left side m1 L1 T minus 2, just writing for your note, is equal to what beta? K. This is m2 L minus 2. Now see, listen, what do you put the value for K so that you are getting the same dimension? It is what? 1. It is m raised to power 1. It is what? M square. So there you must be putting what beta? M raised to power what? Minus 1. Am I right? There it is what? L1. This is what? L minus 2. So there you must be putting what? L cube. You must be putting what? L cube. And there T minus 2 is not there. So you have to put T as what? The minus 2. So I hope you have understood this idea. Now K got the dimensions. Now K got the dimensions. I hope you have understood this idea. So this was our first information related to this, that there is no information about the dimensionless constants and the numerical values. Now, second point, if a physical quantity depends upon more than 3 physical quantities, that formula also cannot be derived. How? I tell you, I give you one question, like whatever questions you have seen in your textbook, T proportional to m raised to power a, just giving you one light example so that you can understand, LB G raised to power C. You are taking this example, am I right? Or you might have seen frequency is proportional to frequency of oscillating drop proportional to surface tension raised to power A, density raised to power B, and radius raised to power C, something like that. But you haven't found any formula of any physical quantity. You may say any physical quantity like Z proportional to velocity raised to power A, length raised to power B, G raised to power C, and force raised to power D, something like this. So means any physical quantity Z which is depending upon more than 3 physical quantities, such type of formulas can also not be derived because we are dealing with the 3 powers only, m raised to power A, L raised to power B, G raised to power C, because we are dealing with the formulas M, L, T with 3 dimensions, like unknown dimensions A, B and C. We cannot go with the formula which are having 4 physical quantities. Am I right? Next is what? Next concept is what? We are having formulas which are involving the trigonometric ratios, logarithmic or exponential functions, etc. They also have no units. They also have what? No units. They are not having any units. So if such formulas are to be derived, that can also not be derived. How to see? Like if I say, as you are might be aware of or not, I don't know, but right now let me tell you this formula, tan theta is equal to V square by RG. If someone is asking you, beta, derive this formula, V proportional to R raised to power A, G raised to power B, tan theta raised to power C. Someone asks you, beta, derive this formula. So then you can have a smiley face very on you that, sir, tan theta you have given, so I cannot derive this formula because tan theta is what? Dimensionless. So such formulas cannot be derived in which trigonometric, logarithmic, exponential or any other functions which are dimensionless, that cannot be derived. I hope you have understood this idea. Now, next, the formulas which are involving more than one algebraic terms, something like S is equal to UT plus half AT square. Such expressions cannot be derived. I tell you an example. If someone asks you S is proportional to U raised to power A, T raised to power B and acceleration raised to power C. So find the formula for S. So it cannot be derived. Why it cannot be derived? Because in this formula we are having more than one terms. We are having more than one terms. So that can also not be derived, in which sum is happening. Am I right? You are adding or you are subtracting it. So that is, it cannot be derived. It is very, very important. Very, very important. So last point, it can't be predicted that whether the physical quantity is a scalar or vector. Means you can derive the formula for any physical quantity like we did. F proportional to m1 m2 by r square, and F is equal to, we are saying, g m1 m2 by what bete? r square, and force is a vector quantity. Am I right? Means when you are talking about physical quantity, when you are talking about a physical quantity, you cannot say, sir, should I use the concept of scalar or vector, because we are determining a physical quantity which is a scalar or a vector. So what I am saying, we cannot predict that whether the formula you are deriving it for scalar or vector, whether that is a scalar or vector, we cannot predict that physical quantity, what type of nature it is having. So I hope you have understood these ideas, which are very, very simple, very, very important. And these, I tell you, if in the exam, not like in our exam, but just saying in a good note, that if you understand these limitations of dimensional analysis, then you can carry out any question you want to, because these are very, very important, very, very important, that no information, dimensionless constants, dependence of the physical quantity more than 3, then formulas which are involving dimensionless parameters cannot be derived, and the formulas which are having more than one algebraic terms, that can also not be derived, and it cannot predict that whether a physical quantity is a scalar or vector or tensor. I think this idea is very clear to you. Am I right? And for the students who have not yet subscribed the channel, please subscribe. Please subscribe their channel. Put the bell icon in there so that you don't miss out the sessions which are going to happen for all the subjects. And because score is just a dream, and you have to crack and you have to get into there, because India's topmost minds will be competing on these 2 dates, which will be reflected in the screen, and you will be getting it onto the link also. But don't miss out, because India's leading topmost students, they will be competing with you. So don't miss out this mega event. It is very, very important. Okay, so let's move on to next slide. So next slide says, yes, now I like this question. It's a very, very good question. I like this question. It's very, very important. See, what is in there? He said in the dimensional dip, because we are just dipping into the concept of dimensions. Since it's one session, and in the one session, I am expecting you might have done dimensional analysis errors. I know, I am aware of. Am I right? So just giving you the overview of some few questions, what is important and how to get into the concepts. That's it. Am I right? And wherever the formulas, whatever we have discussed, if you found something like not in there, you may comment, you may share your doubt and query. We'll be definitely dealing with it in the next class. Okay. See, what is in there? It is, now I like this question. It's very, very good question. See, sometimes it is convenient to construct. As I told you, if you become a scientist, you can opt any system you want to. Any system you want to. Am I right? So sometimes it is convenient to construct a system of units, which can be expressed in terms of only one physical quantity. So God says, don't get stuck in too many physical quantities. Just opt one physical quantity, which is score. Okay. So I am taking it as one physical quantity is X, and in one such system, the dimensions of the different quantities, they are given in terms of quantity X. In terms of quantity what? X. So these are the values. Position as given, speed is given, acceleration is given, linear momentum is given, and force is given. He said, God said, take one physical quantity, which is X. Am I right? And in that X, you express all the physical quantities, and he has given us the relation. Position, if you are taking, you write position as X raised to power alpha. And the options were asked like alpha plus P is how much? this value is how much, this value is how much, this value is how much. He is asked for that. Am I right? So we are having these options. So I will be telling it to you how to solve this question. See, position is given, speed is given, acceleration is given, linear momentum is given, force is given, and it is asked to check out these options A, B, C and D. So I will be dealing with the two options right now. Rest two I will give you the homework. Okay. So let's move on to next slide where I have written. See with it. When position in the previous slide, you can see position is written as x raised to power alpha and speed is written as x raised to power beta. Am I right? In the next slide, I have just mentioned it, position as x raised to power alpha and speed as what? X raised to power beta. Acceleration as x raised to power p, linear momentum as what? X raised to power q, and force as what? X raised to power r. So I am opting first two options to deal with. So let me go with that. See, what is the value of the position in the system? You consider it is L. Am I right? And this is equal to what? X raised to power alpha. What is the value of speed? It is formalized L1 t minus 1 and it is equal to what beta? X raised to power what? Beta. So what is the acceleration? L1 t minus 2 is equal to what? X raised to power p. Is it? So I am focusing on these two only. So that's why I'll be, because in the question I am asked with alpha and p I have to prove. So I'll be using only these three equations right now. These three equations I'll be using right now. Okay. So let's solve this concept now. See what it. It is asked how to solve this. Alpha plus p is 2 beta. See beta. If what you should do, see beta, again you see the option is given alpha plus p is 2 beta and the equations given are L x raised to power alpha, L1 t minus 1 x raised to power beta, L1 t minus 2 x raised to power p. That is given to you. So question asked is prove that alpha plus p is 2 beta. Is it coming or not? So that's why I have opted only these three equations to solve for, and it is asked on the left hand side, it is alpha plus beta. See beta, alpha plus beta can come if you multiply equation number 1 and equation number 3. Multiply equation number 1 and 3. What we are getting? X raised to power alpha plus p. I am getting what? Alpha plus p. And on the left hand side, it is L and this is what? L1 t minus 2. So I am getting here as x raised to power alpha plus b, and there I am getting what beta? L2 t raised to power what beta? Minus 2. So what we can write? L1 t minus 1 raised to power what beta? 2 is equal to what? X raised to power alpha plus what beta? P. See, what is the value of L1 t minus 1? It is L1 t minus 1 is x raised to power beta. So I can write L1 t minus 1 as x raised to power beta. So I am writing x raised to power 2 beta, x raised to power 2 beta is equal to x raised to power alpha plus p. So you have seen a very amazing option is coming for us. Alpha plus p is equal to what? 2 beta. So this is the correct option. This is the correct option for us, A. Now we need to see P plus Q minus R. We need to see what? P plus Q minus R. Now, so let me rewrite this thing. I hope you have understood this idea now. It is very, very simple. Very, very simple. So let's solve this next idea. See with it. Again, we have to solve this. Again, we have to solve this point. What is that? Alpha plus P we solved. P plus Q minus R we need to see and see with it. P plus Q minus R. Now, see with it how it comes. Because he said a P plus Q minus R. He said how it comes. Like it will come only when you take x raised to power P and x raised to power what? Q means what? Multiplying these two and dividing it by x raised to power R. And what is the value of x raised to power p? Basically, it is an acceleration. You may put L1 t minus 2. What is the value of x raised to power q? It is a linear momentum. So it is like what? M1 L1 t minus 1 divided by force. Force is nothing but what? M1 L1 t minus 2. So I hope you have understood this idea now. Understood this idea? Now what we are getting for it? X raised to power p plus q minus r, because I have focused more on the left hand side because I need to get the right hand side ultimately if it is true. So what I am getting? Mass get cancelled with it. T minus 2 is happening, it is also getting cancelled. L1 is also getting cancelled. So what I left with? L1 t minus 1. So what is basically L1 t minus 1? It is speed, which is x raised to power beta. So this become what today? X raised to power beta. So we are getting beta is equal to P plus Q minus R. Beta is equal to what? P plus Q minus R. So this is the one of the very greatest question that even if you opt only one physical quantity, you can solve any parameter with any relation, but you must be having some units correlation between them and the fundamental quantities which are being correlated. So let's move on to next slide. I hope you have enjoyed this question. It is a very, very simple one. See, now this is dimensional dip in the alien world, and that is today's challenge for you. You may take a screenshot of it, and this is very, very important question for you. It's a very unique question, and I want that you should solve on the alien planet. Fundamental physical quantities are given to you, and this way, this is just a new for you, beta. This is just a new matrix I have drawn. This is just a new, because as per the pattern, you must be knowing some fundamentals of the maths. That's why I can tell you it is A as 1, B as 0, C as 0. Something like this is happening. So you can solve this question and take a screenshot of it. Done? Okay. So let's go to next slide. Now, these were the common mistakes. You also take the screenshot of it. It is also very, very important. Rate of Q. Whenever you find word rate, it means it is Q by time. Whenever you find the word gradient, it is Q by distance. Whenever you find the word moment, it is Q into distance. And if you find the word flow, it means it is with the volume. If it is specific Q, it is Q with the mass. Am I right? And last but not least, mass unit volume or mass per unit volume. It means mass by volume, because these terminologies are coming in the dimensions chapter. Okay. So last word is, whenever you find the word located at or position, this will be having the dimensions of length only. Am I right? So these are very, very important things. You must be knowing for it. It is very, very simple, but this terminology is frequently used in the dimensional concept. Okay. Let's move on to next slide. So here is the final recall for all, that you should engage yourself. The test which is being conducted by the Sri Chaitanya Institute, score, it is having cash rewards, scholarship, NASA trips, and everything only on the one mega event when you will enroll yourself for this test. And it is very, very important. You know what? The test score is not just a test by the Sri Chaitanya Institute. It is just, you can say, a well-tested, well-trusted, the format in which you can compete with the India's brilliant minds. So from where you have the very first step towards your dream rank. So I hope, I wish you all the best for that you should enroll yourself. Don't miss out next day's session, because in the next day's session, we'll be focusing more on the dimensions, motion in a straight line. Okay. Thank you then.